Moving on to item in person or online.
All had an experience about and I went to their participating in those kinds of events. Recognize also take a moment to recognize the work that happens in this room from our student reps, but also that occurred at WASDA. And so having the opportunity to be around the three of them for an extended period of time, I learned a little bit about them, and I wanted to share that with the rest of the community and with the rest of the stakeholders in the district. So I'm going to start with Jaden, who's our newest member. And yeah, I'm not sure why she's covering her face over there, because I didn't sense any shyness in the vehicle or in any of the sessions. But what I appreciated about Jaden was the energy that she brought to the conversations. It can be difficult when you're new to a group or new to a team to insert yourself and to share your opinions and your ideas. And she didn't have an issue with that. I was impressed by her initiative and her willingness to contribute her thinking and her ideas to the work of the board. And I look forward to her time, which is going to start here in just about a month or so. But I really wanted to acknowledge her commitment to attending that training, for meeting a bunch of new people, and for sharing her voice when she was there. So special recognition to Jaden for her efforts there. Gael, who has been with us for just a time, and I think it was his first opportunity at WASDA. And what I have been able to observe in watching him, not only there, but particularly at our site visits, his thoughtful approach to this work. He's a note taker. He thinks through what he wants to share. He looks for perhaps items that others of us aren't looking at, because he's not afraid to challenge those things. And so I appreciate the way that Gael approaches the work and the maturity that he brings to his role as a student representative. The other piece I would share about Gael, we had an evening of spirited competition, and I appreciated not only his thoughtfulness and willingness to challenge, but also his limited ability to trash talk. I appreciated that as well. So that was a fun part of our trip. For Elise, Elise has been at this for a bit, and I think we should recognize and acknowledge her experience and what she brings to the table, having been through a number of state-level trainings and opportunities to help lead this work for other student reps. And that, to me, demonstrates an interest and an initiative that is unusual amongst students. Not only to put yourself out there to be a member of the board in your community, but also demonstrating a willingness to do that in a larger scale. We've seen Elise in breakout sessions at the national conference. She had an opportunity to be on the main stage at the state level conference with just 3 other students. And for those of you in the community who weren't able to be there and watch Elise share her story, she represented Othello so well. And I was really proud of what she shared and how she shared it. So I think this might be the only time we get the 3 of them together in this sort of capacity. And I don't think we're going to take a picture tonight because we didn't prepare any of them for that. And I don't think Elise would take one wearing a blanket. But I do want to make sure that we all acknowledge their commitment to this work, their commitment to communicating with other students in our system. And we should all be proud of what they bring to the table. So special shout out to those 3 tonight.
No, absolutely. I kudos to all 3 of you. Elise, you represented well, like Pete said. Jaden, I don't know why you're getting embarrassed. There's none of that in you. I look forward to your interactions here in about a month, like Pete said. And Gael, continue doing what you're doing. It is very evident that you bring your heart to this, you bring your passion to this, and that's what we need. Those that are seeing you, I hope Jaden's taken note. The way you guys have carried yourself, and she'll be a fine example of that, I'm sure. Thank you. I appreciate you recognizing that, Pete. I was wondering, I didn't see any teams here or nothing. I'm like, okay, what are we doing tonight? But no, definitely merited recognition. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you very much. Moving on to item B3, board member discussion. Director Stevenson, is there a ledge report?
No new updates. I know we were going to try and see if we could meet with our new legislative representatives and senator, but I don't know how many of you were able to meet the senator. Our new senator was actually at WASDA at one of the vendor booths, and so got her email address, personal, not the legislative one, which I was like, yes. So, but still working on getting those contacts to respond.
All right, very good. Moving on, we do have a WASDA annual conference debrief. Jen, just because you're at the end there, you can start it off, and I would ask our student reps if you got something you want to mention here, if you want to wait till your reports, however you feel more adapt or comfortable, that's fine.
Love every year. I always love going to conference. So many great breakout sessions and lead keynote speakers and all kinds of different things. Elise and the other student reps had an amazing session to talk about some different things. There was a bunch of things that from that, like the cookie for your thoughts once a month at lunches. Would love to do that and maybe alternate 2 board members and not just at Othello High School. Also go to Desert Oasis, go to the middle school, maybe every other month or something, go to elementaries or something. And maybe we'd have to do that in a different setting instead of at lunch or something. But so amazing things there. There's just so many great. How to address biases, different things about equity and different ideas, educational equity, leadership, love, light, and insight. I loved it. One of the things that one of the sessions said that I was like, ooh, that's just really similar to what we have as like our slogan at many of our campuses. Every student, every name, every day. Mm. And I was like, oh, I love that. I mean, like I've always read, I can't even tell you what ours is now. Every student, every day. I can't even remember. But I'm always like, oh yes, that's so important. But the every name, that was like, that hit me. So I loved many of the keynotes. Like I just eat it up. I love that stuff. All of those different sessions. And if I don't like one, I'll just walk out and find one I do like.
I'm going to save the majority of my thoughts for student rep reports, but I think so many of the breakout sessions were good. I wanted to go to too many, so some of them I went to the beginning, and some of them I left and went to the end. So I think that was really good, and I loved the, what was the doctor guy that was the keynote? Anyways, really liked him. Dr. Brown, there you go.
He was good. Mm-hmm.
But I think it brought up a lot of points that for myself to know and for that I can share with others. So good opportunity.
Well, I really enjoyed the experience with you guys, having time to share with you guys and getting to know you guys a little better. The breakout sessions were great. I was kind of nervous because I didn't know what to expect. You guys kept me calm. And, I went in there. I took my notes like I always do. I got a little something from my report. But yeah, it was one wonderful experience, especially to have it with you guys and, have a little trash talking and, having dinner with you guys was fun. It was real fun.
It was a very good experience. I wanted to have a big kudos for Jen. She represented us well also by being recognized for her work. And I think we all forget how much extra time that you do put out, and we really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
That was kind of special. We had 2 that were right up the front. That was really kind of very neat. But I think we learned a lot of different views, both ways. I didn't agree with everything, but that's okay. I didn't speak up. Probably our time together that we were together was really fun. I did have a few laughs. I think they could work on their meals a little bit more, though, at the convention center. They were a little bit
blah.
Well, they weren't colorful enough. Anyway, but yes, it was it was a great experience to be with everyone.
Director Johnson, before you start, Is there the need for Spanish translation? I'm sorry, I didn't ask at the beginning. Dorothy, thank you for being here. I'm sorry, I just now saw you back there.
Some of the breakout sessions, especially that I went to, they had some really good information, but when I went to them, for example, strategic planning, and they talked about the steps and the procedure, I could sit back and actually go, we've been there.
Yeah.
We did
We've
that.
already done that.
We're on a good direction with a lot of our things that we've got going already, and I was thoroughly impressed with that.
Yeah, to me, it's like everyone says, what's so hard about these conferences is the myriad of opportunities and such diverse topics. I agree with something Sharon said. I didn't agree with some of the stuff that was presented, but that's okay. I think that's the world we live in, and learning to be open to adapting to different things, different points of view, and everything else is something that a person's always going to learn about. But the fact that we're able to go to different ones, and then it was kind of coincidental that some of us, we were all drawn to some of the same ones. Some had to do with finances, some had to do with equity, some were just general academic stuff. And it really brings it home to how diverse this whole educational or academic thing is. And sometimes we tend to just try to bubble it into reading, writing, and math, which are extremely important, but there's a lot of other things that factor into those. So the fact that we have an opportunity every year to attend these conferences, I think is money well spent on behalf of the district. You get an opportunity to learn immensely. And I had a great time. And I don't think it'd be fair if Jaden, you don't come up to the mic and tell us what you thought about the conference. You're here tonight, so I don't like to put people on the spot, but you're up.
Not to interrupt her, but while she prepares her thoughts, I just wanted to second what Ken said, that several sessions I found myself walking out of because I was like, oh, we already do that. I don't need to hear it again. So I just wanted to give our board props for so many things that we've already taken care of and we do very well.
Jaden Hale, she will be our new student rep in about a month or so.
Sorry, I wasn't prepared to come up here and speak.
He's going to fix it.
Okay. I think that it was a really good opportunity just to be able to go out there and not only make a deeper connection with you guys, but also have a deeper understanding about what not only our school is working forward to, having the belonging of, everybody feeling like they have a voice and they're here and they're ready to speak. I think that was a very big topic for me. And I just think that it was a really good opportunity for me to just not only just go, but I don't know, it was really fun. I liked it. The things that were spoken about, they were really big, and I think they needed to be spoken about. And yeah, it was a good opportunity.
Awesome. Thanks for taking the time to join us. Appreciate it.
Do we want to hear Pete's version of?
I was gonna.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I will echo a couple of things that I heard from the board. One is around discomfort, right? That I think for each of us, when we're challenged and forced to grow or think about how we view the world, that's accelerated when we're uncomfortable a little bit. That's what I tried to recognize from Jaden. She was stepping into something that might be uncomfortable with people she didn't know, but she embraced it. And also, when you hear things that maybe you don't agree with in a state as diverse as ours is, there were people from the western side of the state. It was a state-level conference. It either affirms what you believe or pushes you a little bit to think about what you believe. So I appreciated the people who had the courage to get up there and say what they needed to say, and for us to all wrestle with the ideas and concepts that were shared. As it relates to the breakouts, the one particularly around strategic planning that Ken mentioned was particularly powerful for me because it's where we're at. We're at a point where we're about to launch into about a year-long process to really think about what's going to guide our work for the next 5 to 7 years. And that's going to require a whole lot of voices, those in this room, but hundreds of others in our community, to make sure that we get that right. And so it was nice to hear from a school district, a large system like Everett, I think was the group that presented, to hear them describe how they went through that. who helped them with that work, and to the things that we heard are, it's very similar to the plan we're putting in place. So that was affirming. Hey, we're on the right track. Let's keep going and think about how we push that work forward. So I really appreciated that opportunity. The other part that can happen in those kinds of settings, and we do it as an administrative team though, is the connections that you make in the car, just having conversations about your life, knowing what's happening with your families, talking what we had lunch and talked about to Elise about where she thinks she might go to college. We talked with Gael and learned more about his family. We learned about Jaden's high school experience and what she's got going on. Those interactions are important as well. So I appreciated everyone's commitment to signing up and to going this year. That was a new experience for all of us. So I wanted to thank you as well for taking the time out from your own families to spend a weekend learning a little bit more about your role as board members.
One last thing that I did want to talk about is the topic which Jaden had mentioned of belonging. I would like to thank you, Pete, for putting together a trash talking opportunity for all of us to be able to do, like, there were so many different personalities that came out that, like, I've been with many of you for a long time that I was like, I didn't know that part. And that I don't really care if I win or lose in some things. And some things I have to win. But not that time. I just didn't care. So it was really, that was a really fun, different aspect than just let's go out to a dinner afterwards, which is what it's always been. So I very much appreciated that opportunity. Thank you.
Marissa, and we wouldn't be fair if we don't let you speak.
Yes.
Because you did join us, and
And you helped us
you
get our
were-
rooms.
You were very,
Oh, we
Very
had great
involved.
rooms. Thank you. Yes. We
You
have
helped us get our
never
rooms.
we have never been at the Grand before. We've always tried to get in, and we've always had to go at like the historic Davenport
Well,
and
you're welcome. I got
big
you guys
long
in early.
walks. It
I
was
got you
so
in early.
convenient to walk across the.
No, I had
Yes.
a great time with everybody. I love getting to know the students. Jaden, of course, hung out with them a little bit, and so that was awesome. The team building event that we obviously had a great time at. The breakout sessions that I attended were really good. One of them that I really enjoyed, that I took a bunch of notes on, was the strategies for bonds and levies and how to make them pass. So I took a ton of notes, and I plan to go over everything with Pete just so he's got it too. So anyways, no, it was good. Great experience. I loved it.
all right, thanks for joining us. All right, moving on to item B4, student representative reports.
All right, well, this works because it goes right into what I want to talk about. One of the sessions that I went to was leveraging student voice on your board with Logan Endress from WASDA. He does the student rep network. I'm sure y'all know who I'm talking about. So kind of during the session, well, mostly I spent the session giving other boards information on what we do. So I just wanted to, we're awesome. That's basically what I'm saying, because everybody came up to me and asked me questions from main stage. So that was really good. But Logan brought up some good points that I just wanted to let y'all hear, because I know I was the only one that was there. And they don't necessarily have to do with just student voice. I think they're fitting for anything. So one of them is knowledge is power. And to go with that, no one knows everything, but together we know a lot. So as a board, when we all put forth our knowledge, we get a lot more out of it. And then the next part was to recognize the power of yet, because, I mean, we're awesome, right? But there's stuff that we can do. And so recognizing that we haven't done it yet, but we can still do it. That was kind of, I mean, there was other good topics from that, but just that the biggest point that he made, obviously based off the title, was that student voice is important. And sorry. So that kind of went with what I said on main stage, and then I just wanted to reiterate it here in our own boardroom. And then also I wanted to bring to the board's attention some complaints that I've got from mostly students, but also a few community members that came to me. But I mostly want to bring forth the student ones, but just that there's been some issues at the high school with, hold on. I wrote something out on my phone. Let me pull it up. Just regarding our gendered or non-gendered bathrooms, that there's been issues with the gendered bathrooms with people, or individuals of the opposite gender going into their non assigned bathroom. So like females in the male bathroom or males in the female bathroom. And so some students were upset by seeing this and then asked to use the non-gendered bathrooms. So then people that felt like those bathrooms were for them complained that other people were using those bathrooms. I don't know, just some stuff that's going on at the high school. And yeah, that's it for me.
Well, I got a chance to go to a breakout session that was about creating safer spaces for LGBTQ youth, and they gave us, he gave us this like survey about statements and how they applied to like our campus. Like, so I read through it and I came up with some questions, and I decided to ask them to Mrs. Atkinson, our principal. And so the first question I asked her were if there were any policies that explicitly protect LGBTQ students from bullying, harassment, and/or discrimination. To which she responded, "All students are protected under our policy around harassment, intimidation, and bullying. If there is ever anything that happens to someone, they just have to report it, and the administration will investigate it and address it." The second one was if we have gender-neutral and/or private bathrooms and changing areas. And she said that all our bathrooms in the portables are gender-neutral. We also have gender-neutral bathrooms in the Ag building, and the bathrooms in the 300 between Miss Arslan and Valdovinos are also gender-neutral. And they're in the process of putting some in the gym area. So there's options for the people. The third one being, is there any training and support for all school staff on intervening in bias-based LGBTQ bullying? And she responded that teachers are trained to report all and to intervene for any bullying. And the last one was about if the school's athletic teams are inclusive for transgender and non-binary students who choose a sport team that most aligns with their identity. And she said that yes, they are, and that Ms. McCorney would be a good person to talk to. To which I will try to see if I can talk to her tomorrow. But I also wanted to take these questions because I think these answers are great. But I would like to take these questions to elementary schools, middle schools, and not only talk to like the principal, but students and their staff. So that's what I have for my report.
All right. Thank you for that. Any comments from the board? Okay. Moving on to item C1, I'll entertain a motion to approve tonight's required approvals.
I have one question.
Oh.
Feel free to.
I'll make the motion. I'll let you
I do.
second
I
with
would
the
like to
question.
second, but I have some questions. I know that we've been asked to approve a boiler replacement at Othello High. I just have some specific questions about that. So, what is the life? Let's see. What's the right? In biology, it's called life cycle. What is the correct term in maintenance circles?
Same thing, life cycle.
Okay. What is the life cycle of this type of boiler that we currently have?
It's typically 25 years,
And how old is our current one?
24.
Okay, so it's right there.
It's right there. It's more in the day and age we live in. It's more pushing it because of lack of parts, and new boilers are completely different now. So
Right. So, even though it's near the end of its life cycle, is it already having problems?
yes. So
Okay.
we have 2 boilers currently that service the majority of the high school main building.
Okay.
From the kitchen area all the way to the girls' locker room. One of them is currently not functioning. We're trying to repair it, make sure we can get through this winter, but we're running on 1 boiler.
So, I mean, definitely a necessity, it sounds like.
Yes.
And that we do have the funds from a specific location to cover that. And that was my other question was, what area does this boiler service? And you answered that, thank
Yeah,
you.
Kitchen, commons, senior hall, main gym.
So probably half of the entire campus,
Yeah,
square footage,
main areas, yeah.
right? Okay, great.
Yeah, and we do have the funds. We are actually, bids came in at about half of what we originally budgeted for it, and they're about 100,000 under what we projected the cost to be when we went out for bid. So
So if and when we approve this tonight, what's the timeline for having it installed?
Currently, right now, in talks with the contractors, we want to wait until spring,
Hmm.
so we don't impact the school. But we're gonna, once this is approved, we'll reach back out to them, they'll get all the equipment ordered, all the parts, we're gonna get that, either staged in their facility or our facility, so it's ready to go. If something happened to what we have, and we have to address it, that we have the things ready to go.
Great. Awesome. Okay. I'm ready to second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve
Thank
required
you.
approvals. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Moving on to item C2, superintendent informational items.
Yeah, if I could just take a moment before we jump into some of the procedural ones there. I do want to step back to Gael's report and to Elise's comment about some concerns that have been shared with her by community members and by students, particularly regarding bathroom use and gender identity. It's certainly can be a challenging topic for folks to discover, but I think it's to discuss. But I think it's our responsibility as leaders to demonstrate a sense of listening and compassion for folks on either side of this issue. It's a very complex one. I would encourage those folks who reached out to Elise, and perhaps Elise can relay this message to them, to reach out to the administrators at Othello High School and share their concerns. The answers are found in providing additional clarity and education for folks around what the state of Washington requires us to do for every student that comes to a public school. And there are some guidance and guidelines that people just aren't familiar with. And part of our responsibility is educating them about our responsibilities as administrators and as educators. Gael asked some very difficult questions to that principal, and I didn't know he had done that. I hadn't heard those responses, but she responded appropriately. She responded the way we would expect our administrators to respond. I'm so confident that the administrators at each of our schools would respond to those students and community members that have the questions that came to Elise. And so I would encourage them to reach out. When we talk about belonging, when WASDA talks about belonging, that means every kid in our community. Every kid. And our responsibility is to make sure that we're considering those that are uncomfortable with what they're seeing or feeling, but also those that are uncomfortable with expressing what they're feeling and how they're feeling. It's very complicated work, and it happens in the best way when we have authentic conversations about it, when we're willing to challenge each other's thinking, and we do it in a respectful way. And so again, I would encourage you, at least a respectful way starts with sharing your story, sharing your question, addressing the issue with the folks that are putting those requirements into place. And with that kind of clarity, we hope would bring enough comfort for everyone involved. So I encourage you to reach out to them. And if they're not comfortable reaching out to the school directly, certainly at any point they could reach out to me here at the district office, and we could help them understand, or I could get some additional context about what they're sharing with you. Okay? All right. As it relates to my items, the first one is really the experience at WASDA. We had this on the agenda before we went to WASDA, but there's an additional opportunity with WASA and WASBO, and it's a legislative conference, I think, on the Hill. They spend a day there kind of training and talking through some of those conversations. Then, and I believe there are individual meetings perhaps in the evening. It's a one-day event in February, and I didn't know if there were any board members that were interested in participating. I'm interested in going and learning about that. I didn't know if any of you would be interested in attending.
I definitely would, because during this time too, it's also in session, and a lot of our legislators are there, and it's a good opportunity to sit down with our legislators too at the same time. So I would definitely be interested.
Depending upon the date,
Yeah.
yes. I mean, like, I know that you put it on, but that's close to Sand Hill Crane Festival, and that's a crazy time for me. So I need to check some more things, but reach out when you're making final details so I can see if that would work or not. It would be awesome if we took some students.
Can I add to you?
Please.
I was just going to bring up, last year Logan invited me to that opportunity, and I did bring it to the board, but I was going to encourage Gail and Jaden both to reach out to Logan and also to talk to Pete because it's an awesome opportunity. I did it remotely last year, so.
And as I recall from the invite, there's a spacing limitation as it relates to student reps. So if you all are interested, we'll make sure that we reach out. I'll have Marisa formalize some of the details and reach out to the board members. But I guess the conversation we just had around bathroom use and issues around values and how people view those kinds of things, those kinds of decisions and determination are made on that hill. And so is it our responsibility to make sure that the voice from across the state is being shared there? So we'll give you the details and reach out to you about that opportunity. So we'll send it to everyone and then look to hear from you. The last item on there is really about pro-con committee appointment. We didn't have anyone reach out about either being a pro or con for the levy that's upcoming. But at this moment, you would have approved those individuals, or we would have submitted those names for you to consider. None came forward. So this is really a formality that we've included this document in the board minutes so that we can share that with the county and the levy can move forward.
What happens if there is never a pro or a con? What does,
Yeah.
because it said that you had already reached out to Heidi Hunt. What's
Yeah.
next?
So when the ballots come out, there can be a pro and con statement from someone who's been appointed. If I recall, with the last levy, a levy or bond, we had one pro statement but no con statement. It was just left blank. So based on the lack of folks coming forward to write either a pro or con statement, the ballot would just come out clean. There wouldn't be any statement on either side.
Thank you for that clarification.
Okay. Moving on to item E1, policy review. There are several DOPs that are first reading. Don't know if there's anyone who made any notes. I know there was some questions, Director Stevenson, on one of them. Don't know if you got those answered or if this is where they was at.
No, it wasn't with this. It was something else, but I don't remember what that was now.
It's not on here?
No.
Okay. So if there are no more requested changes to these, the
Right.
one-
It wasn't it wasn't the 1000 series. It was a 2000 series thing.
Yeah, and it's not on here, so you can have
Right.
that conversation with
Right.
with the superintendent. If there are no other recommended changes to these can be put in consent agenda for the next meeting.
They all
Meeting.
looked great.
I
Okay.
thought it was really a lot easier to read, so thank you if you
Love
had
the red and
if you
green.
partaked in that, because it was just like it was there, instead of reading stuff that you're kind of thinking, I'm just not sure, but no, so thanks if it was you.
Well, and
Deborah.
another thing too is I pulled it up on my phone and could actually read the
Yes.
agenda and click through the things. I don't know if that was something
Same.
that you had learned too, because before it was so glitchy, like if you made it too big and then you couldn't, and then it like, oh my gosh, it was so a disaster.
Yeah.
I love that I could read it on my phone because before it was so non-friendly. But I don't, if that was you,
Yep.
thank you. If that
Thank
wasn't you, thank you.
Thank you to whomever.
So much better.
All right, yes, if these DOPs can be in consent agenda for the next meeting, Marissa, thank you very much. Okay, moving on to item B2, board self-assessment meeting.
We actually talked about a lot of things in a short period of time. I mean, of course, it would have been great to have had a school report, but that's amazing that we can do it all and have student recognition. Woo!
Great input by the student
Yes,
Thank you.
yes.
tonight.
I think participation was well balanced. Again, the agenda put together addressing pertinent items.
Future opportunities for legislative things, great things.
It was like a conversation
yes.
versus not like a meeting. Well, I mean, obviously it's a meeting, but it was like back and forth. I don't know.
That's a perfect way to say it. You're right. It felt more like a conversation than it being in a meeting.
I was glad the majority of us were here. Well-attended meeting.
And that we have Jaden getting ready to step into big shoes.
Appreciate it. Thank you for being here, Jaden.
Lovely.
Any other observations? Pete, anything you'd like to add? I'm sorry, Dr. Perez, is there anything you would like to add? I'm sorry, I told myself all night I was going to do that. Dr. Perez.
I guess I would, Elise's comment is interesting. There is formality and an agenda to these kinds of events, but when it feels like a dialogue and a conversation, I think that's a good place to be. So, you know, a 40-minute meeting where we talked about some topics that were heavy and some learnings that we've had and some future work. I think it was productive, but I really like that way of framing it as it was a conversation.
Awesome. Great meeting, guys. And moving on to item G1, the board will recess into an executive session for 15 minutes to discuss the performance of a public employee. No action will be taken following the executive session. 7:37, we will reconvene at 7:40 in Pete's office. To those here, thank you once again. To those listening, thank you as well. We are